Welcome to Mrs. Bays' 6th grade math video lesson. In this lesson series of integers, we are looking at subtracting integers in this video. Let's begin by looking at our vocabulary. The word integer. Integer means sign numbers. And those signs would be either a plus sign or a minus sign, but we call that positive and negative. Integers are whole numbers that are positive and or negative. And 0. There are no fractions, no decimals, and no percents. The symbols that we use are the plus sign, the minus sign, and parentheses. Let's remember that negative numbers need to be protected. Like a bodyguard. So an example would be -3. We put the parentheses around the negative and the 3 to protect that negative sign. So we know for sure that number is not positive, it is negative. So let's look at the rules for subtracting integers by looking at just a few examples. 4 minus 2. Well, that's pretty simple. We've done that since elementary school. 4 minus 2 is 2. So I don't plan on saying a whole lot about that one since that one should be very easy. But now let's look at the next example. Notice that the signs are the same, but we're subtracting. Just like here, the signs were the same. This is a +4, this is a +2, and we're just subtracting them. This is a -4, this is a -2, so the signs are the same, but we're subtracting. So what I want to do here is I want to just focus our attention right now on just this minus parenthesis -2. And so I wrote that over here. And so what I want to do is go over how do we read this correctly, because if we can read it correctly, we will understand or better understand what the answer is. So first I want to say, well, how do I read this? Well, this is read -2. So I'm going to write that in -2. But then when I move my finger, I see another negative sign. Well, if this isn't -2, this sign in front of the parenthesis is the word opposite. So this is read opposite of -2. Well, let's think about that for a second. What is the opposite of a -2? Well, that would be a +2. A +2. So now let's look at this example. If I use my finger to just not be able to see the first number for just a moment, we read this as the opposite of -2, which we found is a +2. So a little trick is we make this a plus sign and this a plus sign. So now what is -4 plus 2? Well, -4 plus 2 is -2. Let's look at the next one. This time the signs are different. This is a +10, this is a -5, but let's look at this again. How do we read this? This is the opposite of -5. Okay, let's think about that for a second. What is the opposite of a negative? opposite of a negative is a positive. So this would be a positive 5. So the little trick is, let's make this a plus sign. Let's make this a plus sign. So this is 10 plus a positive 5 is 15. And let's look at this last one. Here we have negative 10 as a negative, right? So this is a negative, and 5 is a positive. That's a minus sign. So this is a positive. So how do we do a negative 10 minus 5? Well, what we can do is switch these two symbols. It's just a little trick. This is negative 10 plus, and now let's switch those signs. So this would be now a negative 5. Now you can do this problem either way. A negative 10 minus 5 is negative 15. But here, if I look at negative 10 and negative 5, the signs are the same, and we're adding them in this case. That's negative 15. So this switching is just a little trick if you think that adding is this easier than the subtracting. Okay, let's look at some examples. So first, we're going to look at subtracting integers when the signs are the same. So in the last video, I recommended that you either pull out some buttons and use these to help you decide which buttons are going to be positives and which ones are going to be negatives. Or maybe you would prefer to use checkers. You might have a checkers game at home. Or maybe you have some other fun things that you can use. It's two different colors that you can use for positive and negatives. But in this lesson, I'm going to use linking cubes. And I'm just going to make a note at the top that yellow is positive and pink is negative, just to help us remember. So let's look at this one. This is positive 4 minus a positive 8. The signs are the same, and we're subtracting. A positive 4 minus a positive 8. So in this case, I might consider doing that little trick I told you about just a moment ago. This is a positive 4. And let's switch these two signs. So I'm going to say add a negative 8. So let's use our linking cubes for this. We need 4 positives, 8 negatives. And just like we did in the first video of this series, we matched up because notice when we put these all together, we have two different colors. So we're going to pair up the colors. So this is a positive 1 and a negative 1, and together they make 0. A positive 1 and a negative 1 paired up make 0. A positive 1 and a negative 1 paired up make 0. A positive 1 and a negative 1 pair up to make 0. And notice I don't have any other two different colors that I can pair up. So this is what I have left. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and they are pink. So that means our answer is negative 4. Okay, let's look at the next one. This is 8 minus 4. Both of these are positive numbers, and if you want to put a plus sign by them, you can. Would I want to switch these two out, or switch them like I did in the first one? Would I want to switch them? Because we've done this kind of work at the elementary. 8 minus 4. This is a positive 8. This is a positive 4. 8 minus 4 is 4. There's no need to switch those. Okay, now let's look at this example. The signs are the same. This is a negative 4. This is a negative 6. So they're both negative. Signs are the same, but we're subtracting. So here's where I recommend that you think about reading just this part correctly. Opposite of negative 6. Think about that for a second. What is the opposite of a negative 6? Well, that's a positive 6. So a little trick is to make these little plus signs instead. So now we could use our linking cubes or whatever you have around the house that could help if you need additional support. We want negative 4, so that would be 4 pink. And this is now a positive 6, so we need 6 yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when we put them all together, because that's what add means, we're going to pair up our different colors. This is a positive and a negative, equals 0. Positive 1, negative 1, pair up, make 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 0. And I move those to the side. What do I have left? I only have 1 left. Let's see, wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my goodness. I had too many out here. I didn't count right. So here's negative 4, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 of these. My mistake. I'm so sorry. Let's look at this one more time and let's get it right. Negative 4, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 pink and 6 yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, here we go. So we paired those up to make 0. We paired those up to make 0. We paired these to make 0. Paired those to make 0. And now we have 2 left. That makes sense. 2. And they're yellow. So that's positive 2. All right, let's look at this one more time. Number 4. Notice that the 8s are both negative, so the signs are the same. And so this is where I ask you to look at the second integer. That's negative 8, and the sign in front is a minus sign because we are subtracting. So let's look at how do you read this correctly. And again, I'm going to just not look at the first integer. This is the opposite of negative 8. What is the opposite of a negative 8? Well, that's a positive 8. So the little trick here is to make those both plus signs. And now we can use our linking cubes to help us. We need 8 negatives. Well, negative is pink. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Make sure I got 8 there this time. Now this is positive 8, so that would be yellow. 8 yellows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now this is a plus because we changed it. We are going to put them all together, which means we don't have the same color. We need to pair them up. Positive 1, negative 1, make 0. Positive 1, negative 1, pair up, 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 make 0. Well, look, I have these 0 pairs. That's what these are called. These are 0 pairs, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 0 pairs. What do I have left? Do I have any other cubes left? No. So the answer is 0. Okay, now let's look at subtracting integers when the signs are different. So in this first example, 5 is positive, so I'm going to make just a little note to help me remember that 5 is positive, and this 2 is negative, so the signs are different. But notice I have subtract and negative 2. So how do we read that correctly? It is the opposite of negative 2. What's the opposite of a negative 2? A positive 2. So the trick is, let's make those positives. And now we can use our cubes, our linking cubes. We need 5 positives. So let me just help us remember. We're saying that yellow is positive and pink is negative. That way we don't get confused. So I need 5 yellow. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the first number. And a positive 2, so I need 2 more yellow. 5 and 2. So notice that they're all the same color. So we put them all together and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And they're yellow, so that means it's a positive. So the answer is 7. Okay, let's look at the next example. This 2 is positive, this 7 is negative, so the signs are different. But now if I look at this part, let's read it together correctly. This is opposite of negative 7. And I'd like for you to say that too. Opposite of negative 7. Opposite of negative 7. So what is the opposite of a negative 7? It's a positive 7. So let's make our marks here to make those positive signs. I now need 2 yellow, because 2 yellow is positive, and now I need 7 yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 and 7, both positives. So notice they're all the same color. We put them all together. All we now do is count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. And they are yellow, which means it's a positive 9. Okay, let's look at the next one. This is negative 10 and a positive 3, because that's a minus sign. So I'm just going to put a little plus sign here to help me remember. A negative 10 and a positive 3. Do you think this might be a good time to switch these two? So what I mean by that is we're going to leave the negative 10 alone. And I want to switch these two signs. So the second sign is a plus. So we're just changing this positive 3 into a negative 3. We're switching these two signs. Maybe that will help us understand this question a little better. This is negative 10, and since we switched the signs, we are adding negative 3. So we need 10 pink, 10 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now we need negative 3, so that's 3 more pink. Here's 1, 2, 3. Well, notice they're all the same color, so that means we're going to put them all together and now count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So our answer is 13. Wait a minute. What kind of 13? Well, these are pink, and we found that pink is negative, so that's a negative 13. Remember, the parentheses protect that negative sign. All right, let's look at the last example. Here's negative 12 and a positive 12. Negative 12 and positive 12. Signs are different. But wait a minute, here's a negative, here's a positive. Isn't this the opposite of a positive? What's the opposite of a positive? Is that a negative? So that means we can switch these two signs. So I'm going to rewrite it as negative 12 plus negative 12. Because this means the opposite of a positive. Opposite of a positive 12 is a negative 12. So we switch the signs. So now I need a negative 12. That would be pink. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But I need another 12. Uh-oh, I don't have 12. I don't have enough pink cubes. Yeah, I don't have enough pink cubes. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more. I don't have 12. So let's say this happens at home. You don't have enough pieces. So could you do something on your paper that would help? Maybe we could do just plus signs and negative signs, or maybe O's and X's for positives and negatives. So if I have negative 12, I'm going to do X's. So I'm going to do negative 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I have another negative 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They're both negatives, so they're all X's. So what would I do with all of those X's? Well, I put them together. I add them. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Wait a minute, they're X's. X's are negative, so that would be a negative 24. And if we put parentheses around to protect, it would look like that. Okay. Okay, now I want you to practice, and you have a choice. If you practice online, I want you to do IXL in point 6. And if you do paper instead, you're going to do subtracting integers page in the packet that I'm going to show you in a minute. Whether you practice online or on the paper, you still must get 80% to get 10 out of 10. And if you would go to 100%, you do get 11 out of 10. So now let me talk about the packet for just a moment. This is the packet that you should be receiving from the bus. Here are the days, here's the dates. So we're looking at Tuesday in point 6, subtracting integers. So you'll go to the packet, find that page, and do those problems. If you are completing the work online, that's doing the IXLs, you do the practice and the assessment. They're all due by Friday, January 15th by midnight. If you choose to do the paper version, I'm giving you some extra time because of transportation, which means that I want the completed packet by Tuesday, January 19th. And just send it back to me by bus. Thank you.